Hey, it's Glenn and welcome to the Ozzstar's Cars channel. Today we've got a Nissan here that has a problem with the power antenna, and I'm going to show you how to fix that. There's two ways you could go about it. You could replace just what they call the antenna mast, that's the metal part that comes out, or the entire unit. Now in this case the motor's running when you turn the electric motor. When you turn the radio on, the antenna comes up about halfway, continues to run. You can hear that motor for a bit and then it finally stops. When you go to turn the radio off, the antenna should fully retract down. It's not, it's getting hung up and the motor runs. So usually that's just the mast, it's called, not the actual motor. You have good powers and grounds there, and there's no real reason to replace the entire unit. You could spend $150, $250 on some of those, when all you really need is the mast, the plastic cable, and I'm going to show you how to do all that today. So why don't we get down to the car and check it out. Okay, so here's the antenna mast, or where it'll come out. Now what I'm going to do is go in the car, I'll turn on the radio. This probably will come out, but hopefully on mic what you'll hear is the motor continuing to run. And then what I'll do is I'll go in, I'll shut it off, and then we'll see if it'll go down on its own. So here we go. I'm going to hit the power button now. So it's coming out normal. Let's listen. Hopefully you can hear that. The motor's still running. And the mast, you can't see it up here, but it hasn't completely come all the way out. There we go. It's still running. So what I'll do now is I'm going to shut this off. There it goes. It finally stopped. I'm going to go shut the radio now and it should go down. It probably won't. There we go. You hear the motors running, so I'm going to force this down. Let's see if it'll go down. There it is. I had to force it in there. Okay, so it went back in. Let's start taking this apart and I'll show you how to fix this problem. So let's take a closer look here how to get this apart. Now there's a special nut on here, and behind this there's a collar. So if you look real close, I'm going to point right here, there's like a hole here and a little hole on this side. And what I do is I take these mini pliers, needle nose. Now they're super thin on the ends and they'll fit right in there. Of course the antenna is down. Let me show you. So I just placed them in there. Now the problem with the thinner needle nose is when you twist, we got to go counterclockwise. When you twist, these things tend to twist and they could slip off. So let me put you on the tripod. I'm going to show you a little trick that I do to get this off. So the first thing I do is protect the paint here, because if this thing slips, you're going to get a scratch. So we don't want that. So I just take some painter's tape and place that right around the area where I'm going to be working up here. It only takes a second. I mean, if you're not worried about scratches, then just go for it. But this will give you some protection. Now what I do is place this in here, and I hope this is coming out on camera okay. Make sure that's engaged really well in there. And now I'm going to twist. So you can't tell right now probably, well you might be able to, but as I put pressure on this thing, now these can be very tight. If they're corroded or rusted in, it's going to be a real bear for you. But as I twist, my pliers are twisting. So to prevent this from, breaking my pliers or slipping off and damaging the paint, I just take a regular pair of pliers, and as I'm holding pressure downward this way, I put the pliers on here, I grab on down here, and I'm giving the pliers a twist, okay? So I'm actually putting pressure down below, down here, down low, and not at the top. And you can't see it right now, but that nut is spinning out. Let me take these off now. Once you get it loose enough, you don't need those anymore. Just make sure you don't slip. And just twist this off, okay? So here it comes now. Just take your time. Once it's off, I'll show you what it looks like. I'm trying to keep my hands out of the way, but I can only do so much. So, all right. There it is. So get it till it's loose, and then you can unscrew it with your hands. And I'll show you this up close. And I'll show you where the problem can be if they corrode. So in here, there are threads. Now make sure, let me see if I can get it on there. See those threads inside there, down in here? So make sure all that comes out. Otherwise, you're gonna have to spend some time, knocking this out maybe with a small chisel or what have you to get the inner guts out if this does not come out for you. So that's it. You're going to reuse this piece. Now, what we need to do is simply turn on the power, okay, so this antenna comes out, and there's something that we want to definitely keep in mind. Here's the replacement. Let me back this out. What you need to focus on when this comes out is very important. This is the white cable. This is probably where your problem is if you're experiencing what this car has. So this cable can crack or snap down in there. And when it does, we're going to experience what we have here. Now where the motor just continues to run. What you need to notice, and I don't know if I can get it on film, but this cable has like teeth in it. Let me see, I'll get it real close. I don't know if it's, there it is. You can kind of see how it's smooth on this side, and there's teeth on this side. What you need to take notice of in your car, some of the teeth will be pointing back towards the back of the car, other ones will be forward towards the front of the car. So as this comes out, as we extract this mast, this is called the, oops, almost dropped it there. This is called the mast. As we pull this out, we need to take notice of the location of these teeth. So it doesn't hurt to spray some silicone spray down in there as we get the mast out. Now what you want to keep in mind is when you extract this thing, like I said, make sure you remember which way your cable was going. So let me give this a little pull here. Hopefully it'll come up for us. Oh, let's see, come on baby. It's not coming out too easily. Spray it a little more. Does not want to come out. With the antenna mast up, now it's time to get this thing out of here. So you can now take this plastic piece off. This should come out for you fairly easy. Just slide that off the top. So to remove the antenna unit, it's pretty simple. There's a few pins in here, plastic pins, and I'll show you that in a second. So you got one up here. I just take this small, it's called a cat's paw. You see it right, oops, I just dropped the pin, but you can see it right there. So you pop these little pins out. Here's one right here. Okay. And there's one there. There's one down here. Hopefully I'm not in the way of the camera. You got a couple over here. You'll see them. Just put some pressure behind there and they'll come right out. There we go. One here. And what you want to do is get this cover out of the way. Up top is a little clip to get this panel off. This panel is for your jack access, so you just push down on this right there, and then it just sits down in the bottom with pressure. Just boom, pull it out. So get that out of the way. Then to get the jack out, just twist this in a little bit. It's a scissor jack. Take this out of your way, because the antenna unit is right back here. Now with all those clips out, you should be able to pull this panel out. Got one more down here. There we go. I just pull this back enough and make room to access that. All right, get my light set up for you guys. There we go. So now what we want to do is take this panel out here. So let me zoom you in a little bit. Oops. There we go. So this is held in with 3 10mm nuts. So just zip these out. This is the bracket. This bracket holds that jack in place. You just pull this out, and I'll show it to you in a second. And oops, I need 2 hands. There we go. You get this bracket out of there. So here's where these two, and then this one here. Okay. Now our motor is back in here, and it has one connector, and we need to take these two. There's 2 nuts out right here. Get you in tight for that. As you can see, there we go. Right here, they're also 10 millimeter, or I should say bolts. Just loosen them up. Take them out of the way. These little guys right here. Okay, and then now the antenna unit should be loose enough. There's a little clip here that holds it in. Just slide it towards the front and then back and then down. And the unit should come up and out for you. So what you need to do is disconnect it right here. There's a clip. This is your power right there. Disconnect that. I'll show it to you up close in a second. And then there's also a connection up top here. Let me try to get that unplugged and I'll show you what's going on. Keep in mind you've got a drain tube down here on the bottom, and this one is looks like it's kind of rusted and clogged up. Anyway, this one's right here at the bottom. You may want to disconnect that. And then you've got this one connector right here at the top, and I'll show you that in just a second. Give that a twist and a pull. And it should come out, hopefully. Oh, what's causing my headache here? Oh, here it comes. There it is. And you disconnect right up here. Oop, let me zoom out. So right here is where that other antenna wire, this goes up, this connector right here, there's a gray wire goes into this module. Well, this is for your antenna wire to the radio, back of the radio. And this is your power feed right here, which this one with the white connector plugged in right here. Okay, now you got the unit out. You can either replace it as a whole unit or you can take it apart to access the guts inside. All right, well, you saw me yanking up on that. Ooh, that was a bad motion. You saw me pulling up on the antenna, right? And it was not coming out. The mast, I should say, was not coming out over here. So we took the unit out, and now I'm going to show you what I do. So I put it in my vise. Okay, got a good clamp on it, good grip here. Then I take a soft mallet, blow hammer here, whatever you want to call it, and I'm going to beat down on the top of this and make sure this is tight, and it should yank out right here. So let me give you a little closer zoom. Zoomy zoom. We're zooming a lot on this video. All right, and now what we should see is extract right here. So let's do that right now. There, oops. Don't break your plastic. Now I'm gonna have to fix that. I just cracked the housing. But you can see it's pulling out of here now. Hopefully you can see that. There we go. Okay. So it just came out. Here's our cable. So keep in mind which way this is facing. This is very important. This just came out like this. Okay, let me loosen it up. Don't forget that now. Now, with the way this goes into the car, is actually it's going to sit like this is the inside of the car and this is the outside. So this is the side we were working on. That makes sense. So when you pull this out, so now I can tell you right now we got a problem because this is way short. Here's our cable, and since we only have about, back you out, this will make sense in a minute. Oops, let me set this on the bench. Zoom out. Since we only have this little bit of cable sticking out, I know it's broken inside the housing. So what we'll do now is actually take this housing apart and we're going to find the rest of this. So what we want to do now is this is held in with 6 screws. I already got 4 of them out, or 3 of them out. And just take your Phillips screwdriver, zip these out. This is on the back here. And then this should just come apart. There should be a seal there. Just give it a little wiggle. There we go. There's no springs or anything gonna fly out on you. So here's these little screws. They're held in right there. Okay, get that out of the way. And now you've got this unit right here. So let me get this up here. Where our problem is, this is where that cable is coiled up. This part right here. Okay, we're pointing. Hopefully you can see that. So we'll take this off. This is where it recoils in here. And now I can see the old one where it's snapped off inside there. Can you see that? Let me grab a pick and we'll get this out. So make sure you get this old one out of here if yours is broken. So this is how much of that snapped off. Okay. So we're going to clean this out. It's got a bunch of goo in there and stuff. We'll clean this up. I'm going to clean this section up right here. This has, let's zoom in. So this has grease on it. We'll clean that up. Get a clean rag. We'll wipe this out, and what I'll do is I'll re-grease this. Oops, can't see what I'm doing. I'm going to re-grease this, put some fresh grease in there since this is pretty old. And this spot right down in here is where our new cable will feed in and coil up and coils around. So that's how that works. Just taking my rag and the pick, you could take a screwdriver too, just getting it down in there. I'm just getting the excess out of there. Okay, so that's done. Let me get some grease and we'll grease this up. I think we could use any type of grease in here. I have some silicone grease I'll use. Let's do that. I use this stuff here, so this won't break any plastic down. Just put a little bit in here. So to show you what's going on here, I have both antenna masts right here. Okay, this new one is in my right hand, and this one's the old one. So when you come down to the end here, you can see the cable. Okay, see how short this was? So it's only a few inches. So when you pull this out, if that's what you see, you know it's broken inside. You're gonna have to take the housing apart. The new one is probably, you know, what, 16 inches long here. Okay, so that's the telltale sign that you'll have to take your unit out. Now, when this goes back in, we can see which way the teeth I showed you earlier need to be, and that's towards us right now. So I'll mount this back into the car. I'm gonna hook everything back up, power and everything, and then what we'll do is we'll feed this in, and then what will happen is this cable will come right through here. I'm gonna point right here, there's kind of a slot, and it'll coil up inside this housing. Okay, this housing will be on like that, and it'll just roll up right in there, and we should be good to go. So let me put this back together. You know how it came apart, pretty simple. Where I did put a little hole right here in the plastic, I'm just gonna use electrical tape to seal that up, and that'll be good enough. And that's about it. So let me get this in and we'll get to the next step. Let me throw this detail in real quick. So this is our original right here, and you can see how that sheathing, this metal sheath, sits tight against this housing because this is for our antenna pickup, the actual frequency. So you need to have this piece on. Now the new one comes with this white kind of like a seal gasket. I'm not sure that we'll use that because ours didn't have it. So I'm just going to pull this off for right now, and I can just slide this, you know, right off the end. And if we do need it, we can slip it back on at the end, but I don't think we're using that part. So I'm just gonna leave that off for now. This sits right down in here. Can you see this sleeve? I want you guys to see this detail. So that sits down in there and that holds tight. Okay, I'm about to put the antenna motor back in, but I wanna show you guys this detail because we go all out here on the Ozzstar's Cars channel. So this drain tube that comes out of the bottom of the unit connects into this piece here. It's kind of like a Y shape. Now this hose, this was sitting down in here. You guys could not see it. It sits down and it goes through the body, and this drains to the outside of the car right here. This is for your, if you have a sunroof. So the sunroof has channels in it, and this drains out. Now this part here corroded off of the end here, so what I did was just took a pair of dikes and I just cut the hose right off. All right, so what I'll do is I'll connect this to this nipple right here, and then I'll set everything down in there. Obviously I can't film it. Don't forget to hook up your antenna, the actual antenna cable that goes to the radio. Make sure this wire is plugged back into your module. And I believe this sensor hanging here, this little dangly, this is for the keyless remote. So that's just an antenna wire. Don't worry about that. Hook up your power and get everything bolted back in. It should be good to go. Okay, I've got Ryan in the car now. We left the radio in the on position. When we took this apart, the antenna came out. Now he's in there, the ignition is on, and I'll have him turn that off. I'm gonna have the cable, the teeth of the cable pointing towards the back. It should start sucking it in. If not, then we gotta flip it towards the front. So let me get this started. You kind of feel it bottom out. Okay, Ryan, turn the radio off. Nothing there. Ooh, wait a minute, there it goes. Just drew it in, sucking it down in there, perfect. Okay. Now, it's gonna have to self-adjust. So we don't do anything yet. We push this sleeve down in there. We take our collar nut here that we took off before and get this started. And once we get this snugged up, then what we'll do is we'll turn the antenna, or we'll turn the radio on and off a few times, and then the antenna should situate to where it needs to be. Remember to be careful as you're tightening this up. You don't have to tighten it really tight, but you don't want to scratch the paint, so just make sure you have a good firm grip. That should be about it right there. That's good. Okay, go ahead and turn the antenna or the radio on. Okay, it's coming up. That's a good sign. And it stopped. The motor stopped running. You guys can't see it, but it did come all the way up here. Now go ahead, turn the radio off. There we go, beautiful. It completely disappeared down in there. That's what we want to see. Turn it on one more time. Let's test it, make sure it's good. Good, coming up, and the motor is shutting off when it's supposed to. Good, great. Okay, so you see it function good. Everything's down, it's below where it needs to be. Everything's tight now with the antenna down. Just make sure your collar nut is in the right position. This one could go a little bit tighter. Don't make it too tight, just snug enough. Let's see here. That's good right there. Okay, Ryan, turn it back on, and then I'll show you what we're going to do next here. I take some WD-40, turn the radio on. Antenna's all the way up. I take some of this, spray it on my rag right here, and I just kind of coat the antenna with a thin film of WD-40, and that'll allow it to go up and down smoother. All right, shut it off one more time. We should be good. And that's it. Now with this working good, we can go ahead and put everything back together. You know, put the jack back in, put our cover and all that good stuff, our bracket, and we'll be all set. We'll wrap up the video. So if your antenna mast is only going up partially or it's not coming down and you hear the motor running, good chances are that this plastic cable in here has snapped and you'll need to replace this mast. So you could either do that or replace the whole unit. Now this is probably $15 to $25 for a good aftermarket, where a new entire assembly is probably going to run you about $150 to $250 easily. So if you got an hour and you watch this video, hopefully that'll help you out. If you know what you're doing, you can probably get it done in like 20 to 30 minutes. So anyway, thanks for stopping by. Smash that like button if you get a chance. I appreciate that. Check me out on Instagram. It's Ozzstar1. YouTube is right here. Ozzstar's Cars. Click that red button. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't yet. I appreciate that. And I'll see you guys on the next one. Take it easy.